Chapter 11. The battlefield was silent. The full moon sparkled on the icicles hanging from the sawmill, on the rusting armour of the fallen soldiers. They found the sleigh by the water wheel. Regis slept over the bloody remnants of the mare. He parted the furs under which the sergeant lay. Black holes where eyes should be, shredded cheeks, and a mouth frozen in a contorted scream. Neris doubled over and vomited. Somewhere behind them, in a shadow-shrouded thicket, a bolt ring clicked. A flash shot through the darkness and the projectile shattered Regis' arm, pinning him to the sleigh. The wound sizzled and smoked, and the smell of burning meat engulfed the air. "Over there!" Neris shouted, and she yanked her sword from its scabbard and dashed towards the tree line. Detlaff already knew who they were dealing with. He remembered the sound, and he remembered the gleam of runes on the silver. Transforming in an instant, he thrashed his leathery wings and flew towards the forest. He overtook Neris and descended into the thicket, ready to meet the Witcher. The monster took the bait. Sorensen watched it rise to the sky, spread its wings, then disappear into the trees. The condottiere ran after the beast, her sword drawn. The Witcher was grateful for this decision, because he didn't want to have to kill her. He drank his potion, sighed heavily, and jumped out from behind a pile of boards. In 2 strides, he reached the vampire still pinned to the sledge. One quick blow to behead the bloodsucker. He swung his sword and the silver blade whistled, but it was a heartbeat too slow. The vampire freed itself at the last moment, deflected the blow with its claws, but the Witcher allowed no respite. He feigned a downward strike, broke the rhythm of his steps, then lunged forward, thrusting at the beast's midriff. The monster recoiled out of the way, then pounced, its gleaming claws missing Sorensen's head by an inch. The Witcher dropped to his knees and cut low. This time, he hit his target, slashing the beast's lower leg. Without a moment's hesitation, he aimed his follow-up at the neck. The vampire shielded itself with its hand. The blade sliced through its fingers, lost momentum, and hissed past the beast's maw. The monster lunged at the Witcher, its claws wrapping around his throat. Sorensen grunted, snatched a bomb from his belt, and dropped it at their feet. There was a bang, followed by a high-pitched whine. A thick fog enveloped the area, blotting out everything but the immediate vicinity. The Witcher swung his sword, slashed the beast's chest, then blasted it backwards with the Ard sign. The vampire careened into the sled and rolled into the darkness along with the sergeant's corpse. Sorensen inhaled greedily, rubbing his neck, and a smile crept onto his lips. The monster was bleeding profusely. The wounds inflicted by the manticore's silver would flare up at any moment, weakening it further. He gripped his sword in both hands and calmed his breathing. "Time to end this," he said. Human shapes flashed red in Detlaff's eyes, a crossbowman and someone else lurking in the shadows, but their blood bore a familiar scent. The 2 fools with whom he had recently travelled, he did not detect the Witcher's presence. Disturbing. The string twanged, but the bolt missed, struck away mid-flight by a dismissive wave of claws. Detlaff swooped lower, faster, hooking the shooter with a wing and knocking him from the boughs. He dropped the weapon as he fell from his perch, landing hard in the snowdrift below. Detlaff made a tight arc in the air, then landed, reverting to his human form. The other man had imagined he had gone unnoticed, as he sprang from his hiding place behind a trunk, his dagger lunging at the vampire's neck. But with inconceivable speed, Detlaff caught the ambusher's wrist before the strike landed. His gaze lingered on the blade. The runes etched into it glowed an ominous blue. He was curious, but only for a moment. Turning his attention back to the man, he crushed the bones seized within his grasp. The attacker howled as the weapon slipped from his limp fingers. Detlaff shoved him backwards into the snow. He glared at the 2 cowering men, both helpless and terrified. They looked at him like condemned criminals awaiting their sentence. Hearts pounded like hammers beneath their chests and their lungs expanded, sucking in nervous gulps. Breath exhaled, steam billowing into the chilled air. So much fear, trembling, struggle, deceit. What was it supposed to do? What good was it? "Why?" he asked. His own breath was cold but invisible. Before they could force their tight throats and chattering teeth to obey, Neris appeared from the direction of the sawmill. "They're monsters," Ossian gasped, clutching his broken arm. "You stuck with them and they're monsters." Neris did not grace him with a reply. Catching his lustful glance towards the dropped dagger, she picked up the weapon and turned to Detlaff. "They killed the sergeant. Finish them or let me do it." The vampire gestured to her to wait. "I can't understand. Why?" He he repeated. The commander led you here. Was it not enough to take money and leave? Why draw weapons against us? There is no money, Ossian screamed. The old man lured us to a battlefield haunted by dead eaters. He took his secrets to the grave. That's what he did, the rat bastard. But they, Erskine interjected, pointing to Detlaff, are carrying real royal treasures with them. They are. Golds from ancient tombs. Or they used to pay for the horse we took along the way. The Witcher showed it to us. Metal flashed. Nerys caught a coin tossed her way by the Temerian and inspected it closely. It had to be worth a fortune. They have more than you could ever spend. We were chasing the sergeant's cash while all this time. Detlaff was disappointed. Regis had almost convinced him that there was more to these creatures. That humans weren't just treacherous oafs consumed by greed and bewitched by base desires. That they weren't as vile and debased as they seemed at first glance. But his friend was wrong. They were irredeemable. Like the sergeant's hidden cash, there was no treasure to be found amongst humans. The casket had been opened, and it was empty. It always would be. Detlaff picked up a flailing Ossian with one hand. He tilted his head, extended his fangs, and let the scent of blood fill his nostrils. Euphoria pulsed throughout his body. Then there was a sudden pain. Nerys, striking with the speed of a viper, had sunk the dagger as far as crossguards into Detlaff's arm. The vampire dropped Ossian, jumped back, hissing and baring teeth. Blue flames flared from where the enchanted blade had been lodged. Slowly the blaze consumed his limb, licked at his neck. He reached for the weapon, attempting to free himself from the malevolent spell. Then Erskine grabbed the crossbow in the snow, took aim and released. A silver bolt whirred through the air and pinned the vampire's free arm to a tree trunk. With one arm nailed to a tree, the other devoured by enchanted flames, Detlaff called for the power of blood and tried to transform, but the Witcher's silver prevented his metamorphosis. He let out a chilling howl, and the knight responded with a distant bark. I want my share doubled, Nerys said, helping Ossian to his feet. Nerys, no! Nerys was all on for killing them until she knew there was gold. Like, she was like, I don't want to kill anyone, and I don't like that they killed him. I was like, yeah, he didn't really have gold. Oh, well, sod him then, yeet. Nerys, you betrayer. Nerys, I am absolutely disappointed in you. Devastated by this. I thought Nerys was going to be the one to prove how wrong I was. We have but one chapter left, and I'm going to be honest, Detlaff and Regis look like they're in a bit of a spot here. They don't seem okay. Yeah, they're both in trouble, I think is fair to say. Detlaff can't transform, is on fire with magic and impaled with silver, and Regis just had his arm shattered and has been stabbed multiple times.